Hello YouTube, Magnitude Gaming here with our 10th episode covering the history of competitive play. Today's episode is actually covering the 2005 U.S Nationals. Yeah, you heard that right, U.S Nationals. While we've mostly covered Shonen Jump Championships, today we head to the biggest event of 2005. Gokusho was making its mark, and just a week before, Team Overdose's Anthony Alvarado won with his teched out deck. Anthony and Team Overdose were looking to keep their momentum going into the national championship. Comic Odyssey was easily the favorite heading into the tournament. The team had a bunch of titles, including the only two-time Shonen Jump champion, Ryan Hayakawa. These two teams were the favorite to either take the title or just have members outright make the top cut. 482 duelists showed up to Columbus, Ohio. The event is small compared to other nationals, or as we call them now, World Championship qualifiers. Let me explain. Back then, it wasn't just top 8 that made the top cut at Shonen Jumps. That was regionals too. It's not like today where regionals have up to 64 players qualify for nationals if the attendance is big enough. At the time, the top 8 players would make top 8. Then they would play it out. The winners would move into top 4, and then go to play for additional prizes. So only top 4 would get their invites. One thing to note though, was that invites passed down. So if the top 4 players in top 8 had invites, then those invites would pass down to the 4 duelists in top 8 that didn't have their invites. Invites are no longer passed down to regionals. We can make the argument that back then, Nationals was much more harder because it was such an exclusive event compared to now. One of the most teched cards in Nationals was Chain Disappearance. This card was useful in removing cards like Magician of Faith, Thousand Eyes Restrict from the decks. Chaos Sorcerer was also being teched in a lot of decks, as it was an alternative to Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning. It was good to remove monsters like Blackluster Soldier, Shinzo, or Thousand Eyes. You can even use Metamorphosis to summon Ryu Senshi or Dark Walk of the Terrible after you use Chaos Sorcerer's effect. Then there were some tech choices out of the ordinary. DD Survivor was seeing play in side decks because it was not the DD Assailant. Survivor could beat over DD Assailant or DD Warrior Lady, and it would just come back at the field in the end phase. And then there was something very unorthodox. Elephant Statue of Disaster. The card did 2,000 life points damage when it was discarded from the hand by an opponent's card effect. May not seem like a lot now, but in 2005 it was a big deal, especially with Ring of Destruction lying around. So, something like Danzalu, Spirit Reaper, Morphing Jar, Delinquent Duo, card would get triggered and come quite in handy. Overdose and Comic Odyssey continued the rivalry at this event. Terasek Punsabat, the reigning U.S. champion, lost to Raimus Lizzo round 5. The next round, Ryan Hayakawa was able to take down Chris Borovic to get some revenge for his team. Ryan started the tournament 8-0 and looks at the top of another event for Comic Odyssey. However, Ryan took his first loss to the tournament, round 9, to Jonathan LaBounty and his Chaos deck. LaBounty would secure his spot. LaBounty had beaten Raimus Lizzo the previous round. Raimus took a second loss to the tournament round 9, losing to Max Suffrage. The next round, Ryan took another loss to Team Overdose's Jerry Wang, who secured his own spot in top 8. Yugioh Adama from Team Savage looked set to make top cut until he took his second loss to the tournament round 10, losing to Tora U. Some of the biggest teams had members scramble, and chaos ensued in the late rounds. So what ended up happening? Ryan Hayakawa finished in 9th place, just barely missing the top cut. The reigning US champion, Terasek Punsabat, was also left looking on the outside at 15th place. Oh, and some guy you guys might know got 14th place. That didn't do too bad for his first national championship. Billy Break. Anthony Alvarado, the previous Shonen Jump champion from the week before, finished 19th, and Encher Fidela, the champion of Shonen Jump Orlando, got 23rd. So who made top 8? As we mentioned before, Jonathan LaBounty secured his spot in top 8 after taking down Ryan Hayakawa. His deck was a standard Chaos deck, no Metamorphosis. He did main deck Chaos Sorcerer and Lightning Vortex. LaBounty's only loss to the tournament was round 10, to Eric Davis. Davis went undefeated with his Goat deck, main decking 2 copies of Metamorphosis. His side deck was focused on Burn, playing 2 Death Wombats, 2 Wave Motion Cannons, and 3 copy of Minar. Overdose had a great day, and managed to get 3 members in the top 8. The first was future 3-time Shonen Jump winner, Jerry Wang. Jerry was playing Goat Control, and tacked in a copy messenger, a piece in a Wabaku. Jerry's only loss in Swiss was round 5 to Will Loftus. Raimus Lizzo was in top 8 after barely making it with an X2 record. The Team Overdose captain had lost round 8 to Jonathan LaBounty, and round 9 to Max Suffrage. Raimus was playing a Chaos Warrior deck, with cards like Giant Drunade, Cannon Soldier, and side decking Cyberjar. Brian Coronel was the third member to get into top 8, and had just barely made it with an X2 record, losing to Ryan Hayakawa and Max Suffrage. Brian chose to run just 1 copy of Metamorphosis, but he did play 2 bottomless trap pulls in his Chaos Goat deck. Max Suffrage from Team Alpha Omega made the top 8 with an X1 record, losing only to Ryan Hayakawa round 5. Max entered the tournament with a Goat deck and was main decking 3 Scapegoats along with 2 Gravekeeper Spies and a Gravekeeper's Guard. Brent Yetter took a loss round 5 to Matt Zabatadik, but ended up winning out to make top 8. His go deck was playing 3 Scapegoats, and he main decked 2 Smashing Grounds. His side deck had a copy of Different Dimension Dragon and Chiron the Mage. Miguel Garcia from Team Nexus went in with Chaos, and he chose main deck as 1 copy of Metamorphosis. His side deck was also standard for that time, side decking Mystic Swordsman level 2, Kinetic Soldier, and Knight Assailant. It was now down to 8 duelists, then the pressure was on. Only top 4 would get their invites to Tokyo. Max Suffrage quickly beat Brent Yetter 2-0, after summoning some monsters and then destroying Brent's Swords of Alien Light to attack for game. Eric Davis and Miguel Garcia went down to the wire. Miguel ended up coming back in Game 3, and won by activating Call of the Haunted to bring back Tribe Infecting Virus, summoning his DD Warrior Lady, and then using enemy controller to take down Eric's last monster to win the game. Jonathan Labonte would lose to Team Overdose's Brian Coronel, and thus Brian would secure his spot to represent the U.S. Jerry Wang had to play his teammate from Overdose, Rhymus Lizzo. The game was in Lizzo's favor. However, a brain control on Cannon Soldier sealed the game in Wang's favor after Lizzo had little protection from being attacked by Jerry's monsters and then being burned for game. The top 4 consisted of Brian Coronel, Max Suffrage, Jerry Wang, and Miguel Garcia. Overdose had a chance of getting 2 members into the finals. Coronel was set to face Max Suffrage in a rematch from round 10, while Jerry Wang had to play Miguel Garcia. Max and Brian had a long match, but Game 3 ended when Max was able to slow the game down with Thousand Eyes Restrict. On the last round of the game, he summoned Tsukuyomi to flip his Thousand Eyes face down, and this allowed his Spirit and his on-field Breaker the Magical Warrior to attack for game. Miguel Garcia took down the last remaining member of Team Overdose in top 4. Garcia won Game 3 by summoning DD Assailant, and then using Snatch Steel and Jerry's Dark Bulge with the Terrible. The finals was set. Team Alpha Omega's Max Suffrage was going up against Miguel Garcia from Team Nexus. Game 1. Garcia opened the game with a single card set to each of his rows. Suffrage answered back with Graceful Charity and discarded Sinister Serpent, and then Scapegoat for the second half of its cost. He flipped Swords of Alien Light, which flipped Garcia's Tsukuyomi, which then flipped back down, and then set a spell or trap and a monster. Garcia did nothing on his next turn, while Suffrage just set a monster. Garcia passed again, and Suffrage filled his spell or trap zone before flipping Morphing Jar a turn later. Dust Tornado destroyed Garcia's 1 set trap, Sakura 2 armor. Suffrage played Pot of Greed, but the face down Tsukuyomi was something he just couldn't get around. Suffrage summoned Tribe Infecting Virus, attacking Tsukuyomi, and Tsukuyomi turned Morphing Jar face down. Suffrage set 1 more card and passed. Garcia set 3 spell or traps and a monster and passed. Swords went to the graveyard. Suffrage drew, flipped Tsukuyomi, turned Tribe face down, then flipped it back up. Tribe Infecting Virus attacked, bringing down the face down monster Sengen, and Tsukuyomi attacked directly. In main phase 2, Suffrage set a monster and then passed, taking back his Tsukuyomi. Garcia set a monster and again passed. He was trying to remain alive and in control in his play while Suffrage figured out ways to take him apart. Suffrage flipped Gravekeeper Spy and summoned another from his deck, and he had them both in attack position. Tribe Infecting Virus attacked the face-down monster, and it ran right into a Ring of Destruction. The first Spy then attacked the face-down monster, which was revealed to be a DD Assailant, and Max took life point damage. Suffrage aimed Snatch Steel at the Assailant, but Garcia chained Book of Moon and Suffrage had no response. He then summoned Tsukuyomi again, and turned one of Gravekeeper's Spies face down. In the end phase, he discarded Sinister Serpent. Garcia needed to take some risks, so he did. He sent the DD Assailant towards the lone, face-up monster on Suffrage's field, the Gravekeeper Spy, but it was destroyed by Sakura 2 armor. He set another monster and passed. His opponent flipped the Spy in the main phase, took Gravekeeper's Guard from his deck, and put it on the field. He then turned it face down with Tsukuyomi. He moved to his battle phase and attacked into a Spirit Reaper. Garcia moved methodically, setting a spell or trap and sending another Assailant. He attempted to attack Gravekeeper Spy, but this time it was destroyed by Mirror Force. Suffrage flipped his guard and bounced the Spirit Reaper back to Garcia's hand. He summoned Tsukuyomi to put the guard back face down. Then he attacked with 2 copies of Gravekeeper Spy and Tsukuyomi. The life point totals were down to 6,000 and 1,800 in Max Suffrage's favor. He set a spell or trap, putting him at 3 spell or traps and 5 monsters with 6 cards in hand to Garcia's 4 in hand and 2 spell or traps. He set 1 more spell or trap and passed, taking back Tsukuyomi. Garcia used Snatch Steel on Gravekeeper Spy, but Max Suffrage chained Book of Moon to put the Spy face down. Garcia summoned Tribe Infecting Virus and attacked right into the Morphing Jar. Garcia used Winkle Duo and hit Ceasefire out of Max Suffrage's hand. Max discarded the Jinzo. In Garcia's end phase, he used Call of the Haunted to bring Jinzo back to the field. Garcia was in a tough spot. Suffrage attacked with Jinzo, and Garcia attempted to use Enemy Controller to bring it onto his field. He lost the Tribe, and Book of Moon prevented his controller from resolving. Suffrage flipped Jinzo, played Heavy Storm, and Garcia chained Scapegoat. Suffrage summoned Breaker the Magical Warrior, and Garcia scooped. After a long game 1, Suffrage was just one win away from becoming the 2005 U.S. champion. Both players sided, and the next game was on. Garcia opened with Wink Duo to discard Ceasefire and Black Host's Soldier Envoy at the beginning from Max's hand. He set a card to each of his zones and passed. Suffrage played Nobleman of Crossout to remove Sangan. He then set his remaining cards, 2 Speller Traps and a Monster. A turn later, he flipped Scapegoats in Garcia's end phase, took his turn, played Heavy Storm, and flipped Morphing Jar. He traded the jar for Jinzo, used Nobleman of Crossout on Garcia's second face-on monster, and attacked for 2400 directly. He then played Soldier of Alien Light. Garcia played Graceful Charity with Sinister Serpent and set us Monster. Suffrage had him beat for the moment, though. He used Metamorphosis on a sheet token to suck up the face-on monster, revealing it to be Magician of Faith. Suffrage set a card to his spell or trap zone and passed. His own Thousand Eyes was keeping Jinzo from attacking. Garcia set a card to each of his zones and passed. The Thousand Eyes was attributed for Arnite Parshath, which attacked right into a Sinister Serpent, and then Jinzo attacked, and Garcia only had 550 life points remaining. Garcia summoned Breaker, destroying the Swords of Revealing Light that Max had. He then used Snatch Seal to take the Jinzo, and used Jinzo to attack Arnite Parshath. Breaker then attacked the Sheep token, and Garcia ended his turn. Suffrage set 2 cards to a Spoiled Trap Zone, and then set a monster and passed. He still had 2 Sheep tokens remaining on the field. Garcia summoned Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. Jinzo attacked the Sheep token, Breaker attacked one as well, and Kaiku attacked the set monster, which was a Gravekeeper Spy. Garcia took 200 life points of damage, bringing him down to 350. The Spy then brought out a Gravekeeper's Guard, and next turn Max Suffrage set one more monster. That set monster was attacked, and was revealed to be Magician of Faith. Suffrage ended up taking back Heavy Storm with it. On the next turn, it was all over. Suffrage used Heavy Storm to destroy all Speller Traps in the field, which in turn destroyed Snatch Steel that controlled the Jinzo. Suffrage ended up taking back his Jinzo, and Garcia, knowing that he was beat, scooped and offered the handshake. Max Suffrage won the 2005 U.S. National Championship, and he's forever cemented as a champion of the Go Control format. While many players continued to question just how powerful this Thousand Eyes strategy was, Max Suffrage ended all doubt. He showed the true power of Thousand Eyes in Tsukiyomi, and his Gravekeeper engine would be influential for the remainder of the format. Thank you guys for watching. We hope that you will join us for the next event, Shonen Jump Seattle. Subscribe to us and please follow us on social media. We plan to start streaming on Twitch soon, so please stay tuned for that. That's the T from Magnitude, guys. Thanks for watching.